Hello guys, welcome to A2 Sports Psychology Screencast 3. Apologies, it's late. I was 14 minutes through this presentation and the computer crashed. I hadn't saved the PowerPoint, so I've had to start again. So this has took me 3 hours. So try to get this done for tomorrow if you possibly can. If not, I will be redoing the session on Tuesday for those who can't make Saturday, but please try as much as you can to get this done for tomorrow. Okay, so these are questions. Some of them I might need to go into detail with, some of them you should know already. A lot of these are based around 10 mark, 20 mark question topics, so we'll just get started. Okay, so starting off then. Critically evaluate theories of aggression. I've put these in because the last time this was a 20 in 2011. It was explain theories of aggression, so I wanted to make sure that you can evaluate them for theories. Okay, see if that will help you. Obviously, towards the exam, you should be able to try and write out a paragraph on each of these and then evaluate them. If you look at it from here then, so you've got instinct theory. It proposes the trait of aggression is an innate, stable and enduring predisposition that we all have. Every individual has this trait of aggression and it could be spontaneously released at any time. For example, a footballer lashing out following a poor tackle due to the fact that they have the innate trait of aggression. However, not every individual has the trait of aggression, and it downplays the learning of aggressive behaviour. Going on then, social learning theory. This proposes that aggression is a learned behaviour, and it's via observation. Observation takes place from the environment via imitation of significant others and social reinforcement. Okay, you must make sure that social reinforcement is in your example. Imitation is more likely of significant other in position of authority, same gender, same stuff as we've used all the way through. For example, a young female netball player watches and imitates. Very important, you have watches and imitates. Her captain pushing a player off the ball, fellow teammates congratulate her for being successful, and the behaviour becomes permanent. However, not all young performers imitate aggressive acts from a significant other, and also it downplays the role of aggression as an innate disposition or a trait. Going on, frustration, aggression then. Remember, these theories are similar but different. Frustration, aggression proposes that goal-directed behaviour is blocked. This leads to frustration. Now, at this point, there's two ways it can go when you're frustrated. If your aggression is released, this is known as catharsis, okay, and it will lower your aggression. So, for example, a netball player manages to push the marker out, person who's marking them, out of the way without the referee seeing, and they get away with it. However, the flip side to that is if frustration cannot be released, or the player is punished for pushing the marker and the referee sees them and sends them off, okay, and then they kick the table on the way off. This is an example of kind of the two ways that frustration can lead to aggression. Either catharsis, it's released and there's no problem, and it can lower aggression, or it can continue to rise if you are punished. However, key criticism here is that not every individual becomes aggressive when frustrated. Aggression cue hypothesis then. Frustration. This is a build on a frustration aggression hypothesis. So this proposes that frustration happens, okay. However, when you're frustrated, the big difference is the theory proposes that arousal will rise. If arousal rises and there is an aggressive cue present, when arousal arises and an aggressive cue is present, there is an increased chance of aggression. For example, a hockey player is frustrated because they're continually fouled. They, as a result of this, it might be a high stick challenge. Teammates confront the player who made the high stick challenge. This causes the player who's on the receiving end of the challenge to become aggressive because they have social cues, e.g. people coming towards them, and also they could talk about the physical cue of a hockey stick. However, on the flip side, if the frustration leads to an increase in arousal and there's no aggressive cues present, e.g. same thing happens, but all the hockey players' teammates return to their defensive positions, this will reduce the chance of aggression taking place. And now the big however here is performers can learn to walk away from aggressive situations. Moving on then. Okay, next question. I'll basically put this in. This will be a tough question, but I just want to. It's a different question, and it requires you to interpret rather than it being like you being told what to do. So basically, the four attributions here. Okay, the pitch did not suit our skillful way of playing. It was too slippy. We were unlucky. We played well, but it was one of those days. We were not good enough. They deserved to win. Our players did not seem bothered. They just didn't try hard enough. So what I need you to do is, and this could be a 20-mark question, so using Wine's attribution model, describe the attributions, okay, or like classify, justify, describe the attributions. The last time this came up, it came up as a critical evaluation, so you need to be able to think about, you know, what's good, what's bad about attributing it in this way. And then what I want you to do is explain strategies that can be used to avoid learned helplessness in these situations when attributing. So firstly, what you have to be able to do then is start to think, right, looking at those, can I classify using Wine's model? So, first one then, pitch did not suit our skillful way of playing. That's an external stable factor. Takes away responsibility, okay, because it's external, and it protects the self-esteem because it's stable. So, you know, by having that concept of taking away the responsibility, it can help protect your self-confidence. External, unstable for 2, we were unlucky, okay, so unstable. External, again, it takes away the responsibility, and because it's unstable, it can help maintain motivation because luck can change in the future, okay. However, I'm sure you can imagine if you critically evaluate, if you continuously blame things on luck, okay, you've got no personal responsibility on luck if you want to change it. Internal stable factors then, so we were not good enough, they deserve to win. So taking personal responsibility is the internal side of it. However, it is difficult to change as it's a stable attribution. And finally, our players did not seem bothered. That would be internal, unstable, because it is effort. Okay, so personal responsibility is taken. Okay, and the good thing about that is it's easily changed, but of course, continuously not putting effort in can lead to poor team performance, as we've looked at with social loafing. So what I need to do now then is look at this concept of explain strategies, or maybe, explain strategies that can be used to avoid learned helplessness. And there's one specific attribution strategy that you use. What we're going to get you is we'll use that first, but then I want you to start to think about, if you get a question that talks about strategies that can be used to change a negative psychological behaviour to a positive psychological behaviour, there are other strategies you can put on top if it's a 20-mark question. So firstly, I'll put it here again to explain strategies that can be used to avoid learned helplessness. So we go on to here then. What is learned helplessness? Condition where an individual deems failure is inevitable. And I'll put in here information. Stable attributions difficult to change and should be avoided. Okay, so for example, the internal stable and external stable attributions above should be avoided because they can't be changed. Okay, it's very difficult to change them. Attribution retraining is the key strategy that should be used, and it involves changing reasons for failure in order to maximise motivation. Remember, attribution retraining, training rhymes with changing reasons for failure to maximise motivation. So what we're looking for, because we're trying to link this to the question title, you're looking to change attribution for failure from internal stable factors such as ability, e.g. we were not good enough, they deserve to win, to internal unstable, so such as effort, our players did not seem to be bothered, they just didn't try hard enough. That's the most effective strategy to prevent learned helplessness, because by using that way, that attribution retraining, the individual has personal responsibility for changing effort. Okay, it is changeable, therefore it allows increased confidence, motivation, and future expectations of success, because you know you can change it, and this might lead to an increased persistence in a balanced, active, healthy lifestyle. Now, at this point you could also talk about attribution retraining. If it was a 20-mark question, and only if it's a 20-mark question, you could talk about the fact you could change attribution, using attribution retraining to change the attributions to external unstable, such as luck, okay, because you're taking responsibility away from the performers. However, obviously it's not as good as internal unstable, because there is no personal responsibility, there's no intrinsic motivation, or it's not intrinsically performed. Okay, you're not in control of it, so it's not as valuable, but you can put it only if it's a 20. Now, what I wanted you to think about then is, what are the other strategies that can be used? So what further strategies can be used to avoid learned helplessness? And this can be used in any psychological 20-mark question when you're looking to change behaviours. So the acronym I want you to start using, it's a new one, so you've got a week to try and get your head around it. it is this. So the acronym I want you to use is ASPIRE. Okay, so we've used ASPIRE last year. It's slightly different, so you've got to ASPIRE to change. That's what I want you to look at. Some of them aren't relevant. For example, I don't use it. That always a 1, and E is just to end it. Okay, so we've got the key things we're looking at is ask, and then we've got the R. So what does that mean? It means attribution retraining we've done. By setting smart targets is a good way to increase motivation to change attributions. If a significant other is involved in persuading or reattributing, it can really help prevent learned helplessness. If you can use confidence building strategies, this can also have a massive effect on preventing learned helplessness. Reinforcement then, you can go on and talk about that from positive reinforcement, so the use of praise in order to kind of increase that effort level could help. So basically you can talk about other negative and punishment, but the positive reinforcement is the main one. So moving on from that then. Using science drive theory, explain the positive and negative effects of the audience on performance. So seeing that question, if you want to pause it now, you can. From there, do you remember anything about that? I'll give you a little bit of a kind of trigger. So audience is the first A. See if you can, from there, see if you can work out what you've got to do. Okay, so that should translate into drive theory. Social facilitation proposes that in presence of an audience, arousal increases, so does performance of the dominant response. Now, this can have a positive effect on performance depending upon 3 factors. Now, you might well get the factors, but as we're coming to the end of the spec, there's a good chance you won't get them. So if you don't get them, your job is to be able to look in the following ways. So positive. The audience will lead to positive performance according to the drive theory if you are an extrovert personality because you have a less sensitive reticular activating system, e.g., for someone like they might decide to dribble in a cup final with lots of people watching because they're an extrovert personality, okay, and they don't get overawed by having a crowd there. The arousal makes them want to do it. Ability, high ability because the ability has a well motor program. The performer has a well motor program. For example, scoring a penalty in a cup final with spectators. And finally, tasks that are gross and simple because uses large muscle groups and has a low perceptual load, e.g. Performing your personal best in a 1 repetition max on a bench press when a crowd is watching. Negative effect on performance is the opposite part, okay, you must put that into context, and I would just flip the examples and talk about them in negative with negative connotations. Okay, so going on from there. Social facilitation, next question, causes and effects of evaluation apprehension. So if I said to you on that quickly now, what are the causes and effects of evaluation apprehension? Can you remember? So what is the thing that's going to make you feel apprehensive? Well, the first one is here, so you've got it here. So basically the causes come like this. You have a perception of being evaluated, judged. That's going to be more likely to be apprehensive if it's a significant other, e.g. a scout, a coach. And it's most likely that you're going to be apprehensive if you have low sports confidence levels. The effects of this can lead to an increase in anxiety. It could also lead to an avoidance behaviour, and finally it could lead to withdrawal from an active lifestyle. So it might mean increased anxiety, e.g. you don't want to receive the ball in your sport, you don't want to take a penalty. You avoid taking a penalty when you're asked to do so, and that leads you to not wanting to play sport anymore. Okay, moving on then. Describe strategies to prevent social inhibition. So strategies to prevent social inhibition, little acronym to use here if you want to. Okay, so imagine you've got an MC. An MC is trying to help you to stop you from feeling the pressure of a crowd. So you've got MC double P ATS, so MC PATS. If you look through here, see if you can work out what the strategies are for that. Some of these are from the strategies I used earlier. Some are specific to social inhibition. They translate to as follows. Okay, I feel like you should be able to do these. I've talked about these enough now. You should be able to make your own notes from there. So there's some examples on that. Moving on then, critically evaluate anxiety management strategies. So what are they first up? Well, you have these. You should be able to know these by now. And then I just wanted to put in on here, okay, if they are the different strategies you could use, it might be worth having a look and adding a few of those to your notes. How do we, firstly, you must explain them. Okay, I feel like I've done enough work on that, so certainly a 20-mark question session. After that, okay, how do you evaluate them? So you've got your parite, okay, so basically parite or Geordie, parite, you go through there, so you've got personality, so remember ability, realism,